Hi, I'm Dave Isaacs, and this week in Core Concepts, I want to talk about why it's important to improvise and explore. Now, when I use the word improvise, I'm not necessarily talking about playing solos. I'm not referring to any specific musical context, just the idea that sometimes you can pick up your instrument and play something whether you know what's going to happen or not. And this is a really important thing to be able to do. And I think it has to do most of all with your level of confidence. Ultimately, the idea that you know you can put your hands on the guitar and do something that's going to sound good, no matter how simple that might be. Think about the way that young children approach an instrument for the first time. As soon as they learn how to make a sound, they just start messing around to see what other sounds they can make. They're not inhibited by the fact that they don't know what to do. They just try things. This becomes a challenge for most adults. I mean, let's face it, we get older, we become competent in other areas, and once you know what you're doing, in at least some aspects of your life, it becomes less and less comfortable to not know what you're doing. Now, in last week's Core Concepts, I was talking about this sort of philosophical split when it comes to learning music, between people that prefer the guidance of a teacher or a mentor and want to be led step by step, and the people that prefer to find their own way, work their own way through it. And people definitely have a predisposition one way or the other. And hopefully we established last week that both of those things are important, regardless of which way you happen to lean. But this idea of exploration is so valuable because even if you are being led by a teacher, you're learning patterns, and you don't want those patterns to become so set that they're all you know how to do, or that they're the things you go for all the time. If you want to keep growing, you want to be able to find new things, and to always be reliant on someone else to show you that, I think, is limiting. You want to be able to pick up your guitar and just play it, whether you know what's going to happen or not. And the longer you've been playing, the easier it is to just settle into those familiar forms. And I fall into this trap all the time. I have to consciously make myself sometimes step out of the go-to things, the things that feel natural, the things that feel immediately comfortable. Now, I've certainly developed enough skill over the years that if I do decide to step out of that, I can be fairly confident that I'm going to play something that works or find a way to make it work. And most of the time, that is what happens. But at the same time, I don't mind taking chances, and if I fall on my face, I fall on my face. And sometimes that happens to be in front of people. It's okay. Mistakes are gone as soon as they happen. I think we tend to be a little more afraid of them than we should be. And even if they're spectacular, you know what? The audience will forgive it most of the time. But just playing on your own, you've got absolutely nothing to lose. And there's nothing like when you go for something and end up playing something really cool that you absolutely didn't intend to or didn't even know what it was. These things grow your vocabulary. It grows your sense of what you're capable of doing. It grows your sense of what the instrument is capable of doing. And that's very liberating as a player. I've spoken before about people that learn things by rote and become so locked in that they really can't step outside of that. And I know songwriters that are like that, people that are writing music. And the fact is, if you want to have any variation in your music, if you want to keep from writing the same song over and over again, or playing the same melody, the same solo over and over again, then you have to be able to step outside of your norms. And that means being confident enough to take the step, knowing that there's not really that much at risk, that if you make a mistake, so what? You made a mistake. Sometimes you play something and it's terrible and it's useless and it doesn't work at all. Other times you play something and wow, that was cool. I didn't plan on that. That's one of my favorite things, honestly. And having that experience really does develop your confidence. It develops your sense that if you do step off the path, that you're not going to be lost in the wilderness. And I think that's really huge. Now, if all you do is explore, then you really are relying on wherever your ear happens to be, wherever your skill level happens to be, to guide you to what you're going to be able to do. And there are dead ends here as well. People get stuck that way too, unless you are just supremely talented. And maybe even the people that are, there's a ceiling, there's a limit to how far you can take it. And certainly there are people that have had fantastic, influential careers finding the thing they know how to do and just doing it, and it might stay that way for their entire musical lives and still be interesting and still be compelling. That's fantastic, that's beautiful, that's something to celebrate. And it is another fair point that you don't need to be able to do everything to be a confident musician, to be a successful musician in the sense that you can successfully make music. I'm not talking about reward, financial success, recognition, anything like that. I just mean that you've learned how to play. So I have to qualify that. But at the same time, every player that I know that really loves to play does want to learn new things, does want to find at least new ways to come at the things that they do. And the way you do that is through exploration and experimentation. So don't be afraid to do it. Pick up your guitar and take something that you know and move it somewhere else. If you're not sure how to get started and you need to quantify things a little bit more, then give yourself specific directions. I'm going to pick up this finger off this chord and see what it does. I'm going to take this shape and slide it along the neck and see what happens. I'm going to land on this finger instead of that finger. I'm going to move up instead of down. Whatever it is, there's 1,000 things that you can do. But the idea is to not let not knowing what's going to happen stop you from trying it. Improvise and explore. It's fun. It becomes very satisfying once you get over the initial fear of doing it, and you might be amazed at the places that you discover simply by finding your own way, at least some of the time when you pick up that instrument. I'll see you next week.